Do you think Donald Trump wants to stop it? Do you think he will stop it?
Well, I think he would like to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And in order for him to win the Nobel Peace Prize, he's got to not only end the war, but he has to make sure that the end is sustainable and long term.
Now, Israel and Hamas have confirmed that ceasefire talks have resumed in Qatar. But as negotiations resume, a leaked Israeli military plan lays out stark plans for Gaza if talks fail. As seen by the Sunday Times, the document entitled The Complete Takeover of Gaza would divide the region into 3 controlled civilian zones, separated by 4 military-occupied areas with Palestinians unable to move freely and aid distribution overseen by private Israeli firms. Nomi Bar Yaacov is an international lawyer, arbitrator and award-winning peace negotiator and a fellow at Chatham House's International Security Programme and joins us now. Nomi, good afternoon. Thanks for giving us your time.
Good afternoon, Alexis. I'm actually a fellow at the Geneva Centre for Security Policy.
Apologies for that. Will be rectified immediately. Nomi, tell us what we know so far about this proposed peace talks that are taking place in Qatar at the moment.
Well, we know at a critical day today that the Israeli delegation is threatening that if an agreement isn't reached by midnight Doha time, they're 3 hours ahead, they will resume military action, which, as we know, they haven't really stopped the military action, but the Israeli army is bombarding Gaza in a very worrying and with fashion. So I think the pressure is on the Witkoff plan. Witkoff is US President Donald Trump's special envoy to the Middle East and to Ukraine and various other, and to Iran. But in this context, he is the special envoy for the talks. So talks are very intense. We're talking about the release of around half the living hostages and half the bodies. There's a total of 58 hostages, including dead and alive hostages. The pressure is on, and hopefully there will be some sign of a 60-day ceasefire, serious amount of humanitarian aid that will flow into the Strip, given that malnutrition and has been reported widely and is of great concern, especially for the young ones.
Part of the deal, I believe, is 400 trucks a day to enter Gaza. We've been hearing in the last few weeks that there is a state of emergency within agencies running out of food, medical supplies, no working hospitals. Also part of the deal seemed to be evacuation of seriously ill people in hospital to receive the care that they have. Is there also a prisoner release agreement from Israel? And does this mean the 60-day ceasefire that we would see the withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza, or will they stay put?
Well, no, that's the crux of the matter. So the crux of the matter, the names, the numbers and the categories of Palestinian prisoners who are to be released in exchange for the hostages, that's always the crux of the matter. They're those who have so-called blood on their hands, are responsible for the death of Israelis directly. And then there are those who, on the one hand, those are sort of so-called heavy prisoners. And then there are those who were arrested after the 7th of October, 2023, some of whom are, it's not so clear necessarily what they are exactly accused of. I mean, presumably all members of Hamas, some, of course, accused of much more serious crimes. So there are various categories of prisoners, and those are always, it's fine-tuning and deciding which ones are to be released according to the various categories. Also, which ones will be allowed to go back into Gaza, which ones will be allowed to go into the West Bank, and which ones will be only allowed to go into third countries. So there's quite a lot at stake there. But as you correctly stated, the main issue is the end of the war, and Israel has so far refused to end the war, and Hamas were therefore saying, well, there's no point in negotiating because we're not going to. We're not going to negotiate if Israel is not willing to end the war. However, now there is a discussion of a staged partial withdrawal. And all this, as I said, is under very intense negotiations today.
What did you make of those leaked plans that appear in the Sunday Times today? Israel's proposal for Gaza. I'm looking at a chart here. It would split Gaza into three, with army zones separating the parts of Gaza. So there's one around the northern part of the Gaza Strip, around Gaza City, central Gaza, and then around Khan Yunis. But this idea that essentially Palestinians will be surrounded by military forces and unable to travel freely in Gaza. From an international law point of view, what did you make of those plans?
I make out that it is occupation. So basically, Israel will be continuing its illegal, belligerent occupation of the Gaza Strip. And I don't think it's going to happen. I think that the only country that can stop this plan is the United States. And US President Donald Trump has the leverage. He knows what he needs to do in order to ensure that this doesn't happen. I think it is a terrible idea. And as I said, yes, it is illegal under international law. And there's no doubt about it whatsoever.
Do you think Donald Trump wants to stop it? Do you think he will stop it?
Well, I think he would like to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And in order for him to win the Nobel Peace Prize, he's got to not only end the war, but he has to make sure that the end is sustainable and long term. He's also just come back from a trip to three key Gulf states. You know, he met with very powerful leaders I'm saying it in chronological order, in Riyadh, Doha, and Abu Dhabi. And he has heard about the diabolical situation in Gaza, the inhumane situation. I think he would like to put an end to it. The question really is how. And I think that the Arab plan will eventually be implemented. The Arab plan is a plan to get a technical government with the support of the Palestinian Authority to rule Gaza for 2 years before holding elections. And there's a 5-year plan for the reconstruction of Gaza without the removal of any Palestinians. I think some probably will be removed, but there is a question really, it's up to them and not up to Donald Trump or Israel or anyone else to decide who is going to leave the Strip. Certainly those that need urgent medical care should be allowed to leave and receive the medical care that they very urgently need. So, but I think that the lead will come from the Gulf states, together with two neighboring states that have peace agreements with Israel, Egypt and Jordan, of course, with US support. I don't think that that Gaza can be resolved without the Gulf states, the neighboring to Gaza, namely Egypt and Jordan and the US. And I think everyone needs to work together. I have omitted Europe because I think Europe's role is not as important, but of course Europe needs to play a supporting role. There's an awful lot that they can do to help stabilize Gaza, especially on the humanitarian front.
Nomi Bar Yaacov, thank you so much for giving us your time. Really fascinating. Good to speak to you. Thank you. International lawyer, arbitrator and award-winning peace negotiator, fellow at the Geneva Centre for Security Policy.